Hi, Alison. How are you? Thanks for tuning in from Dubai.
Hi, Shauna. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It is a little bit late. It's just past 11 o'clock at night, but I'm doing well. I'm really enjoying all the energy and all the tips and advice here. It's just so packed full of value. It's like
Please,
amazing.
give a shout out to Allison for like jumping on at 11:05 p.m. I mean, and it's a Sunday, so you probably have to
It
work
is.
tomorrow. So if we could just like put cheers in the chat, like I think that's so awesome. But I wanted to give you a proper introduction. So Allison Soltani, she has a really cool Instagram. It's called is it Leap Savvy Tips, right? I'll put
Leap
the
Savvy Savers. It's the same as what like I'm called here. It's like my Zoom name as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the link there, but basically she's gonna help us out with like savvy saving tips so that you guys can feel obviously more confident about moving abroad. And this is like one of the main, I know people are like, oh, I don't have enough money. Oh, but I need this amount. So we're gonna kind of go over all that. So she's a financial coach and a planner and living in Dubai. She's traveled the world. She's from the UK, if you can't tell from her accent. And I want you to kind of tell us a little intro too, but she has traveled, done backpacking around the world when she was in her 20s, and then finally settled with her family, with her son and her husband in Dubai. Her son was actually born in Dubai. So
And
in
my
terms of,
daughter,
oh,
two
your
kids,
daughter. Oh, you have two.
both. Mhm.
Okay. I'll let you tell us that. But basically, they were raised in another country. So they have the two cultures. They still go back to the UK quite often. But this is also for those of you who maybe have kids or want to talk more about the family aspect too. But Allison, can you please elaborate? Let me know if I missed out anything on that intro and maybe tell us like, where you're at and kind of what you're up to. And also your a little background history about how you got into traveling and then living it overseas.
Sure. Thank you so much, Shauna, for that awesome introduction. So yeah, I really do want to give a little bit of an intro into like why I do what I do, because a lot of people, if you say you're a budgeting coach or a personal finance coach, they kind of almost recoil physically and say, oh, I don't want to know that. I want to know about how to make more money. I want to know about how to be a millionaire. I want to know how to have 100K month. So bear with me for the first bit. I'm going to explain kind of my reasoning. So yeah, I grew up in the UK, went traveling. I trained as a teacher, did 2 years, went traveling around South America, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, different countries in Africa, the backpack on hosteling. Then I went back to the UK, worked in the UK for less than a year and realized, this is not for me. I mean, I'm getting taxed, it's grey, it's dreary, it's cold. And I was around 25 years old, single person, wasn't able to save much money. Then I got a job offer in the UAE, tax-free salary, free accommodation, like the company will often pay for your accommodation in the UAE, not all the time, but sometimes. So I thought, well, I'm going to jump at that. And yeah, UAE, Dubai. And so I went over to the UAE, met my husband here, had my 2 kids, and that was a decade ago. And a couple of things happened in my personal lived experience, which kind of awakened my passion for personal finance and led me into being a personal finance coach. And that was essentially when I was on my maternity leave with my second child, my daughter, and I have a 4-month maternity leave here in the UAE. And I remember the epiphany moment. So I just want to talk about this epiphany moment because it was early 2019. I was doing the washing up, doing the dishes, and had a little baby at home. And my son at that time was 3 years old. And I remember thinking to myself, when is the next time when I'm actually going to be able to be off work, like active work for 4 months? Like, I know I wasn't on holiday because I had a baby to look after, which clearly is not the same. But I remember thinking like, oh, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to do this. Like, we're working forever. Because essentially what happens is if you're in the UK, if you're working and you're under employment, you're usually in part of a pension scheme. So you don't need to know a whole lot about investing, about the stock market, about finances in general. It helps, but you don't have to know. So essentially, I was like, well, I've been out the UK for most of my adult life. I don't have a pension. And I had like a kind of epiphany moment. So that was early 2019. And then probably January, February, about this time, And then by May, I had gone from a 0% savings rate, which means I wasn't really saving any of my income, I was spending it all, to 50%, which means I was saving 50% of my income without getting any kind of salary raises. I mean, I wasn't hustling. I had a baby and a 3-year-old at home, like, and I was investing for my future. I knew my numbers and I managed my money. So then I started to realize that actually more income isn't 100% the answer. Of course, more income helps. And I'm not saying, no, don't ever earn more income. But I'm going to explain why I think it's not 100% the answer. Is that was it for me. I didn't earn any extra income. And all of a sudden, my whole perspective and my life had changed in just a few months. I went on courses. I started consuming podcasts, personal finance books, went on investing courses, learned the stock market. I mean, if you told me in 2018, you'll know how to invest in the stock market in a year, I would have absolutely not. So it is possible to learn it without having this huge 100K month or whatever it might be that you're going for. So essentially, that was the first bit of like epiphany moment for me. And then the second, so I realized a couple of things along the way. The first one was that a lot of people don't know their numbers, and so they chase income. But income alone, without knowing how to manage it, isn't gonna make you all of a sudden feel financially secure and have financial well-being. Like right now, I have clients that earn $5,000 a month, and I have clients that earn $25,000 a month. And I can tell you that they have the exact same problem. They come to me and say, I need help managing my money. And so it doesn't matter. The person who has $25,000 a month is earning that isn't in a different position than the person earning $5,000 a month. And so I realized that actually managing money and realizing your numbers is absolutely life-changing for people, because that can help a lot of people who might be here thinking, well, the amount of times I've heard people say, I can't start a business because I need to pay the bills. I can't leave my toxic job because I need the salary. I can't travel abroad because I need money and my job is my money. But I say, okay, well, how much do you need to spend in a month? I'm not really sure. I don't know, like whatever I earn. And I think that looking at working out your numbers can really help. And the second thing is, as well as knowing your numbers, is knowing your level of enough. That's what I call it. So my second kind of lived experience that led me on my path was in 2021, I embarked on a no spend year. And what that meant was I basically cut back everything from my budget that wasn't a need, so wasn't a bill that I needed to pay to survive. And it changed my whole life. I doubled my net worth for sure. But instead of people, like your immediate thought might be, well, that sounds pretty miserable. But actually, it showed me what I truly value. It opened my eyes. So like, for example, in that start of 2021, I cut out Netflix, just as an example. And it was a very small, I mean, it's a tiny expense. It made literally no difference to my money going out, my cash flow. But I realized I was binge watching Netflix just because. And I became, in that year, in 2021, I moved from being a consumer to a creator. I created my blog, my Instagram page, I created my business, I found my passion, and it was from doing that no spend year and stripping it back. So a lot of people come to me, and on their expense list, on, you know, in their credit card statement, I see it says Netflix, Disney, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and I'm like, do you need all this? Yeah, I don't know, I just didn't think any different. And so it's about sort of changing your perspective to what you need in order to live a fulfilled life. So of course you don't need to do it as drastically as me, but when you do kind of even do a values-based analysis, so look at what you're spending, really break it down and just think, how much value is that really providing me? It can really help you to know how much do you realistically have to spend in a month? Because it might be that you don't need all of those subscriptions, and you can immediately cut out money from your monthly expenses and expenditure without losing value from your life. In fact, for me, it added value because I was able to, I forced myself to stop binge watching Netflix, which is what I was doing with my time. And I used that time to get creative and start a blog. So that was the second kind of lived experience I had that led me on my path. Awesome. And I realized that a lot of people just like don't have a handle of things. And I realized two things is what I really want to help my clients with. and what can really change their lives is like knowing how much you need to spend in a month, as I just said, to live a fulfilled life and happy life. And it might be different to what you're actually spending now and what you think, without actually ever doing an analysis of that. And then also knowing what you need to save in order to retire. So as I was saying, this like pension scheme came up with like this idea of, wow, I don't have a pension because I'm an expat. And if you leave your country, often you will go into a place where your retirement becomes a little bit muddy and cloudy, as in when, even if I love being an SEO manager or I love blogging and I'm earning money from it, there will come a time when you want to retire and stop actively working. So I help my clients to work out that number. And then basically it's pretty easy to work it out. So you can then work, say if you want to like retire in 20 years, you can work out exactly, if you know your expenses, you can multiply them by 25 and you can use a compound interest calculator to work out exactly how much you need to contribute to the stock market or to a pension fund now in order to retire and meet your goal in 20 years. And that helps people in, 4% rule. Sure. I am definitely a follower of the FIRE movement. And basically it helps people in 3 ways, I find. The first one is, for example, that people might say, okay, they've worked with me, they figured out that in order to save to their goals for the future and live a happy life now, let's say, I'm just throwing a number out there just for an example, let's say Shauna is my client, we've worked out she needs $5,000 a month. And that's covered everything. But she's actually got 10 clients at the moment and she's earning $10,000 a month. So that can be absolutely life-changing for Shauna, because she can say, I can actually cut back 3, 4, even 5 clients, work half the time, and I can get the time freedom now to maybe spend more time with my child, or spend more time painting or learning to play the piano or traveling or whatever it is. So that can literally, you can have the time freedom now. You don't need to wait the 20 years. Wow. Or it can help people who, let's say Shauna's the opposite way and she's earning $5,000 a month, but actually when we do all of her analysis, we realize that she actually needs $10,000 a month, including saving for retirement. So what she can say though, instead of, oh my gosh, I'm not earning enough money, is I'm going to hustle now while I'm young, while I'm fit, while I'm healthy, and I'm going to work to increase that income because I have a goal. And then what's going to happen is later in life, I can almost front load it now. And later in life, when naturally you want to start to kind of scale back a little bit, you can, because you put the work in and you realize your numbers. Because what I realize is so many people are like drifting kind of around, and I'll get clients and I'll say, right, what's the goal? What do you want? $1 million. Okay, so why? Well, what's the, I don't really know. It's just because that's what people are advising on social media. And it's like, well, okay, you know, okay, well, you need to figure out for you and your unique life what you actually need. And then you can make these decisions. Like you can actually learn, okay, if I want to start a business in 12 months and I want a 12-month runway, so I want a buffer of money, because it's really helpful and advisable to have you know, savings before you pull the plug on your full-time job. And let's say Shauna says to me, well, I want 12 months savings, 12 months expenses, sorry. So I want 12 months expenses in the bank before I quit my job. So I say to her, well, how much is 12 months? And she says, I don't know. And I want to be the person that helps with managing your money, getting your numbers right, so that you can do the thing that will sort of do your piece to change the world. You will live your passion, you will live your dream. And then I can say to Shauna, okay, let's say your number is $5,000 a month. Okay, so you need $60,000. Once you have $60,000 in your account, you can quit your job because you've got 12 months to build up that business. Or if Shauna says to me, my real passion is I really want a dog shelter. I want to help abused dogs. That's all I want. And I have people say to me things like, I just want to be a swim coach, but I can't because I need the salary. So I can help them to work out how they can be a swim coach or how they can have a dog shelter. So I might say to Shauna, okay, you can cut back to this number, you can work part-time, and you can have your dog shelter. So it's about sort of, I want to be that person who really helps people to, instead of just their brain shuts off and they go, well, I don't have the money, so I can't like move to a different country, or I can't start a business. I want to be the one who says, actually, you can, let's work out a plan of how to do it.
Yeah. Oh, I love
So I hope that sort of is clear.
Thank you so much. That was powerful. I like it. And it's really deep. It's not just
Exactly.
okay, what's the number? What's the number? Like, let's take a look at your actual life. Like, what do you want? What do you,
Yes.
I love that. And I like how you tie the two together. So what are the steps that people should be doing? Because obviously we all want to, everybody here wants to move abroad, or maybe they are abroad, but they want to go to a new place. Like, what are those financial steps that we should be putting in place so that we can accomplish this 12-month goal of being in another country? I know you talked about already, like cutting out the subscriptions and kind of looking at that, but I know you have some of these freebies, which is like the 5 steps savings challenge, which I posted here. But what else could we do right now after this summit to start to save and account for some of the things we're going to need abroad?
Yeah, good question. I mean, first of all, it is definitely wise to put money aside and go with a bigger buffer than you think you're going to need, because when you move abroad, inevitably it's a very uncertain time. Things are going to cost more. You're going to have loads of like unexpected things. And I've heard some really great tips about like checklists and stuff. And there's some things that I just didn't do. And now I'm definitely going to do it and follow the advice. But there's still going to be uncertain things that are just thrown your way. And so having like a bigger buffer than you think you're going to need is really important. And so really, it's like I said, it's working out, okay, what's your goal? What's your vision? How do you want your life to look? I mean, I talked a little bit about like someone wanted to be a swim coach, or if you say, okay, I want my life to be in Argentina or in Dubai or in Portugal or in the UK. Okay. And I want to be, running my own business. So what we got to work out is, how, again, what do you need? What do you value? What do you need in order to live a happy and fulfilled life every month? And you can do that in a really big drastic way, like I did, like a no spend. And I would say it's actually the best way, even if you just do it for like a week or a month and you say, I'm just going to cut it. I'm going to see how I feel. And then I'm going to work out what exactly I need. And then I would say, or the other way is, I always say saving is on a spectrum, and you can go for what I call the low hanging fruit, which is things like cutting out subscriptions like Netflix. It's not going to make a huge difference to your life. It's small. Or you can do things like, look at groceries is a really easy one to cut back. I know when I started looking at groceries, I cut our grocery bill in half within the first month of pursuing my financial goals. And essentially, it didn't really make a difference. In fact, we had a lot more family meals together. So simple things like I would meal plan. I would cook, like I have a family of 4, but I would cook for like 10 people, and I batch cook, spend like a weekend morning, put a podcast on, batch cook, stick some portions in the freezer, and then boom, middle of the week, Wednesday, I am absolutely exhausted from work. Kids are asking me what's for dinner. Instead of getting a takeaway, I can pull something out the freezer. I'm telling you, you might think, oh, it just doesn't sound like, the fancy lifestyle that I'm after. Okay, but if you want to move abroad, all right, you're going to have to maybe look at what you're doing right now in order to get there in 12 months and actually give it a go. Because, I thought, oh, I'm going to miss going to restaurants. Haven't missed it at all. I really enjoy my batch cooking with my podcasts on. And then I can tell you that if you were at my house and I pulled something out of the freezer and warmed it up in the oven on the cooker, you wouldn't really be able to tell that I hadn't freshly made it that day if you hadn't seen it come out the freezer. I'm not a nutritionist, so you may miss out on a couple of nutritional benefits from working that way. But, things like that you can do, or you can take big strides and make huge savings. So things like taking in a lodger, moving to a lower cost of living area.
What's a lodger? What's a lodger?
Oh, someone who lives in your spare room.
Oh, like a rent, like rent out a room in your apartment.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't realize you didn't call it that.
We don't call it that. Yeah. We call it a renter in America.
Yeah,
Lodge.
yeah. So
It
like,
sounds like I'm going to a fancy lodge in the mountains.
no, quite the
Okay.
opposite. No, it's something that's like a big life change, and it might impact your lifestyle, but it'll be a massive saving. Because what might happen is you could charge them enough to sort of cover your mortgage. So there's loads of different hacks you can do depending on how big or small you want to like go at it. But yeah, like I have savings challenges. I have a bunch of tips on my blog, because I think that saving is, and at least managing your money and knowing your numbers, is almost just as important as income and investing, because you can realize that you can actually live on less and give yourself time freedom, which is just gold. So I think that you can do that. Work out your numbers. As I said, it's pretty straightforward. It's just, if you are moving away from the supposedly security of a traditional pension or retirement fund, you might call it in the US, I don't know, where your employer basically sorts it out for you.
Right.
A lot of people live in the dark and they just say, well, I've got the employer match and honestly, I can make it 34 years, and then they survive. But if you move away from that, you know, you might have to put in a little bit of work to understand, okay, I'm going to have to do it. Because what I did was, when I had my epiphany moment, is I realized, wow, I haven't done that. And I've got 2 kids to support. And it took that moment of clarity to sort of realize that. So understand that you've got your monthly expenses, and then you've got your retirement, your savings goals, other savings goals you might have as well. Like, you know, if you have kids, their education, if you want to contribute to it, or car replacement or things like that. And I would also look at the expenses in the country that you're going to. I think that it was just said by Shah before about getting on Facebook groups. This is what I didn't do before I came to the UAE, and now I would 100% do it if I was moving to a different country. And ask people, what do you spend? And of course, everyone's going to be different, but you can get like a general sense of
Averages.
you know, averages and what things cost. And you can like actually start making a budget spreadsheet for, okay, this is what I'm aiming for. Because I think so many people, they just dismiss things, dismiss opportunities because they just assume it's going to be, well, I can't, because I can't ever give up the salary I have at my corporate job. But actually, you might find that you can, because I would have said, before I had my epiphany moment, I would have said to you directly, well, I can't save because I don't earn enough. So I'm on a teacher's salary, you know, I'm on a modest salary. I can't earn enough. So I can't save. But I actually turned that into like a 50% savings rate without earning anymore.
It's
so,
like,
yeah. So
I really believe this is like out of the box thinking. And we're kind of like, at least for me, I'm very blind to, oh, well, I shouldn't probably get rid of that subscription, or, oh no, but I need to eat out like every week. You know, we kind of are stuck in these ways, but it's like, hey, this is another option. How many of you are kind of not freaking out, but like worried about that part, the savings part? I'm worried about not having enough, like, and that's kind of holding you back. Go ahead and put me in the chat. And I want to open it up for questions. I mean, this is a really big one. Like, this is holding a lot of us back. Like, and a lot of it's misconceptions, and a lot of it's just like not really knowing that we do have solutions. Like, there are solutions that you can take literally right now. Like, we're giving you free gifts right here. There's a 5-step saving challenge that Alison's giving. Just look over it, like, see if there's something you can cut out and literally start taking action like today. There's a no spend challenge guide. I'm going to give you an example. You guys are going to think I'm crazy. I'm spending $210 a month to Equinox. It's like the nicest gym in America. How many times do I really go? Like, I'm working all the time. I probably go 5 times a month. Like, in the back of my head, I'm like, I should cut this out. I'm not going a lot, but it's an addiction. It's like an attachment. I should probably cut it out. And if I did, look, my savings rate's going to increase. Thank you, Alison, for being here. We've dropped in the chat her freebies, which are basically going to help you figure out, like, how can I start saving in order to move abroad? And the no spend challenge if you're willing to take it on, even just for a short time or maybe just a couple items. Thank you so much, Alison. I wanted to introduce you to Dina, who is our digital nomad queen, and hopefully you guys can connect to offline. Dina, Alison's in Dubai, and Dina is all over the world.
Yeah, wow.
So maybe you guys.
I've been there.
She did that.
Listen, Dina. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Shauna, for this opportunity. It was absolutely awesome. I wish everyone the best of luck with their businesses and on their financial journeys.